If Jesus is not number one in your life and you've organized your life in such a way that it's easy for you to find an excuse, and I said an excuse, not a reason. A reason is if you're in hospital. An excuse is, I worked all week and I'm tired. I stayed up too late. I was watching a movie. Those are excuses. Jesus taught his disciples to be sacrificing. He taught them to persevere. He taught them to be giving. Just like you said this morning that you collected all that stuff for Sierra Leone. That's what Jesus is calling us to do. And more of it, not less. The Apostle Paul said, follow me as I follow Jesus. Jesus was on his way to Jerusalem to die. He was healing people, helping people. But how are you going to get someone to follow you if you don't know what you're doing yourself? You're going to lead them down the wrong path. Many a person has led someone else down the wrong path or have not been able to help someone else because you got nothing in you. See, Jesus, the disciples spent time with Jesus so he could put something in them. One of the things, the times that we find that most things happen in our families is at funerals and weddings. You ever notice that things happen at funerals and weddings? The mother-in-law of the bride, the mother-in-law of the groom, and they can't get along. But if you got some disciples, some really true godly people in there, one might say, well, okay, we'll do it your way. We'll have some peace. You get the funerals, and what happens? People are all blown up. There's anxiety, there's hate, and there's all kinds of unkind words. If we could only have some disciples in there and say, Jesus first, how would Jesus want me to behave? We wouldn't have all these unkind words and unkind things said. And somebody would be willing to step out and say, you know what? You're doing wrong. You're speaking wrong. We wouldn't all slink back. We'd be willing to take some heat like the disciples did. Jesus said, and whosoever does not carry their own cross cannot follow me. Whoever does not carry his own cross, this doesn't mean to the problems you're going to face. There's going to be problems because if you give your life to Christ, there's always going to be people who are going to walk around and say, well, she thinks she's holier than us. No, she's just following Jesus. She's committed her life to him. She surrendered his life to him. And maybe 20 years later you'll say, oh, I guess she was serious about that. But you know what? You got to take some heat in the meantime. But take it. Right. That disciples do more than lip service to Jesus. They give Jesus their life, their all. And they don't just give Jesus the leftovers. And for the leftovers, what I mean by that is that we plan, the two examples that the apostle gives here is building a tower, and the other one is if you're going to go to war. Now he says if you're going to build a tower, make a plan. If you're going to build a house, you make a plan. You sit down and you say, well now, I'm going to build this house. Am I going to have enough money to finish it? Because if you don't, you put a little foundation there, it sits here for 9 years. What the people in the community are going to say? I can't believe they started to build that house. That house been sitting there for 9 years. Did they run out of money? Is he still working? So you're going to be made a joke. Count the cost. Make a plan. See, and then we plan for everything. And then on the other hand, we plan for everything else. We plan we're going to retire. I did that. But I also plan for my reward, eternal reward. But we plan for a vacation. And we sit down and we say, okay, well, I need this much money because I need a plane trip to get me to Florida. And we're going on a cruise now. And then you say, you don't just stop there and then you fly to Florida and you think, well, oh gosh, I got no money in my pocket to get on a cruise ship. No, you plan it out, don't you? The same thing with regards to your salvation. You need to make a plan. You need to make a plan. And you need to know that God doesn't want you to give him your leftovers. He doesn't want you to take the trip, come back and you got a few cents left, you're going to give that to the church. You need to make a plan. Sit down. It said somewhere in here, you've got to sit down and count the cost. If you're going to put God last, he doesn't want what you got left over. He wants you to put down 10%. Put that over there, first fruits. What happened? Abel said he's going to give God his best. Cain said, oh, well, I'll just give God any old thing. God is not pleased with any old thing. He wants your first fruits. And God always honors. The thing about God is you don't give to get. But God always honors when you give him your best. I'm a walking, living testimony. There was a time when I thought, oh, 10%, that's a lot. But God just kept on pushing it in until it was pressed down, was running over. Test him. Let him show you. He can do it.